Hi everyone, today we'll be going over moving out a tenant in TenantCloud. We'll address what to do when the tenant has damage fees, when a tenant is leaving their lease early and you need to keep their deposit, deposit returns, and if you have an eviction or need to write off an amount. First, we'll want to pull up the tenant's profile, so we'll go to the left-hand menu and click on Contacts and then Tenants. I'm going to be moving out my tenant Elena, so I'll click on View Profile, and I can see here she has an outstanding balance currently, and she does have a deposit on hand. So if I know that I'm keeping some of that deposit to go towards the balance, I'll be able to apply the deposit to those open invoices. So since I know I need those open invoices paid with her deposit, I'll go ahead and click on the three dots on one of them and do apply deposit. From here, I'll be able to select where I want to apply that deposit from. So I'll do the main deposit. Actually, we'll go ahead and do the pet deposit so that it's even. It'll let you change the date that it was applied on, and then you'll confirm it down here at the bottom. Once you hit confirm, that invoice will be marked as paid, and if you refresh the page, you'll see that her deposit has gone down $500. So I'll do that again with this other $50 invoice. So now I've got her balance current and her deposit remaining will go towards some of the move out fees or damage fees. So I'm going to say that she had a carpet cleaning fee that was charged. So I'll go ahead and make a carpet damage or a carpet cleaning fee invoice, and we'll say that it's due on the 17th. The amount will do $100. I do want to make this visible to my owner so that I can recoup these costs. So I'll go ahead and toggle that on. It will have the payer payee filled out as my tenant, and then I'll select the active lease. Once I hit create, I'll also want to apply the deposit to this move out charge. So I can click actions, apply deposit. I'll apply the full 100 and hit confirm. If we go back to her profile, we can see now that her deposit has gotten lower. We're also going to pretend that she is breaking her lease early, since her lease end date is actually next August. So since she's leaving early, I do charge a fee that I'll apply towards that deposit as well. So I'll go ahead and add an invoice, and then under category, I can search the word early for early termination fee. And my early termination fee is $1,000. Again, this termination fee will get calculated into the owner distribution because they get a portion of it as well. So I'm going to make that visible to the owner. I won't want to mark it as paid, but I'll go ahead and select the lease that it is attached to and hit create. Again, I'm going to do my actions, apply deposits, and I'll apply $1,000 towards that $1,000 invoice. So now if I go back to Elena's profile, I can see she still does have some deposits left. So the remainder of the deposit is going to go back to her. To return that deposit, we'll click on Actions next to Deposits and then Return. When I'm returning a deposit, there's two things I want to take into account. Did they pay the deposit online through TenantCloud, and how long ago did they pay the deposit? As you can see here, the deposits I have from this tenant were made offline, so there is not the option to pay now or physically return that refund through TenantCloud. I will, however, have the option to mark it as paid. once I fill out that refund amount. So I'm going to say I gave her $50 of this one and mark as paid. Here it'll ask the method, and if I paid her a check, I can fill out the check number. I can add any details here, and then I'll click confirm and refund. Now, since this refund was paid offline, when I clicked refund, it's not physically sending that money back to the tenant. If it's made offline, you will have to send that deposit back to the tenant offline as well. If it was online, you would see here under method that it'll say online, and this pay now button would be green, giving you the option to send that back to them. Something to note with returning it through TenantCloud: if the deposit is older than 2 years old, you will not be able to return that in TenantCloud. And something else to note with this is the original payment method that the tenant used will be the payment method that the deposit is refunded to. Even if that tenant has removed that bank account or card from their TenantCloud account, or the bank account or card is closed, it will still be sent to that original payment method. So it is always good practice to ask the tenant if their original payment method is still open and that they're able to still collect those funds in that payment method. So I'll go ahead and refund the full amount back to her, and I'll do mark as paid again. I gave her a check, and I'll click refund and then refund. Now, if I go back to Elena's profile, I can see here she no longer has a deposit on hand. I can also see in her transactions that I have those move out fees, the early termination fee, as well as the deposit returns. Once I've verified that I've charged all of the move out charges, any early termination fees, and I've applied the deposit and then returned the remainder, I can then go from that tenant's profile to the leases tab, and I'll click view on the active lease. And from here, you'll want to click actions at the top right, end lease. As you can see, I already took care of any open outstanding invoices and applied the deposit, but if there were an open balance, they would be listed here. I already returned the deposit as well, so that is not there as well. At the bottom, I can change the date ended to whatever day she moved out, and then I can end the lease. Now that she's moved out, I will have the option to archive this tenant as well. Something to note with archiving tenants that are now moved out: if you don't wish to see the archived tenants on your tenants page under contacts, you can filter that page by tenant type and apply the active filter, and then you can save that filter and it will show you the active tenants only. If you do ever want to see the archived tenants, you can just clear that filter and they will pop up. If you're a property manager who pays for those damage fees or expenses with a carpet cleaning company, painting company, etc., and you do need to recoup that money back from the owner, you'll actually want to record these charges as expenses as well, property expenses. This will allow that expense to show up on the owner statement report and show the owner why you're keeping this income that was charged for the damages or cleaning fees. So I did a carpet cleaning fee of $100. So what I'll want to do is go to my contacts on the left hand side and then service pros. And I know that I hired Carpets Plus to clean those carpets, so I'll go ahead and add them as a service pro. You will want to fill out the category, and hit create. Once I have that service pro created, I can go ahead and make the matching property expense for the damage fee that I charged the tenant. So I'll search carpet, and it was $100. I'll go ahead and mark this as paid. I'll want to tie it to the property, and then I can even tie it to the unit as well. Once I'm done, I'll hit create. I'll say that I paid with my bank account and hit confirm. Next, we'll take a look at the owner statement report so that we can see that our expense is balanced out by that income, so that the owner has record of where that income was applied to. So we'll go to reports down at the bottom, and we'll pull up the owner statement, and then I'll filter that by the owner. And you can see here down at the bottom that I paid $100 out of the property for the carpet cleaning, and the $100 that went in would balance that out. The goal with this report is to be at zero at the end of the month, which was discussed in a previous video. But this just shows you that you will want to record those property expenses if you are a property manager. So that way you can keep record that you would be keeping certain income. Now we'll go ahead and address the tenant that I'm evicting. So we will pull up that tenant's profile. And as you can see, they have a large outstanding balance, larger than their deposits, so the deposits will not take care of that outstanding balance. But I will go ahead and apply the deposit to the invoices that I can cover. So if you click on Actions next to Deposit and Apply, and then at the top, you'll select the active lease, and you'll be able to pull up all of the invoices that you can apply that deposit to. So since it is only $800, I will go ahead and take care of the $100, and then I'll apply the rest towards the rent invoice. So we will go ahead and apply $100 there, and we'll apply $800 there. And you can hit record as applied. And for the details, I'll put eviction. I can hit confirm to record as applied. Once I've applied the deposit, I'll go ahead and go back to his profile. And I can see here he still has an outstanding balance. So since I know I'm not going to get that money from this tenant, and I don't want these numbers to affect my totals every month, I'll go ahead and click on the leases tab to end that lease and get him moved out. And you can do that by clicking on leases, view on the active lease, actions at the top right again, and then end lease. As you can see here, it shows the any unpaid invoices that the tenant has outstanding. Like I said, I don't have deposit to apply towards that, and I know he's not going to pay those invoices. So I'll go ahead and leave them open, and I will end his lease. I'll click yes, I'm sure. Now, if I go back to his profile, I can see he still has that outstanding balance, and I do not want that to affect my reports or my totals. Since I don't want to delete those invoices in case I do decide that I want to pursue these charges, I would still have the ledger. Instead of deleting, I will want to click on the transactions tab, and I'll want to void these invoices. So you can either go to the transactions tab on the tenant's profile and void each invoice separately. And we'll just put eviction, write off. If there are multiple invoices that need to be voided, An easier way to do this would be to go to accounting and then transactions. And then you'll just want to filter the transactions by client and find that tenant. Filter it for only his transactions. And then you can check the box next to all of the open or overdue invoices. So I found the 2 overdue invoices that he has, and down at the bottom I can delete, waive or void, or mark as paid. So I'll waive and void, confirm, and then again I'll put the reason why I'm voiding that. Now if I go back to that tenant's profile, I can see I don't see that outstanding balance anymore, but if I click on the transactions tab, I can still see the balances that I voided, and I can always unvoid those if I ever decide I want to pursue those charges. And that was a look at moving out a tenant in TenantCloud. We hope this video makes the end of the leasing process a little bit easier for you. Thank you for joining today.